Calvin.
Hello.
Round two.
Round two. Ready for it. Happy Tuesday. Is it Tuesday?
Happy Tuesday. It is. It is Tuesday, the something of April.
I started to run again. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
12 kilometers a day.
Good for you.
Yeah. It takes me just about an hour or under an hour, but I go out, get some fresh air.
Good for you. I ran 15 minutes today and I thought it was an hour. I kept looking at my phone and I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see. And I thought, surely this has been half an hour at least. I'm just running up and down the blocks, right, around the neighborhood. And then I finally stopped and I sat down and, held the phone out and looked at it. It was 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
God. Yeah. Well, I went out like a maniac the other day. I forgot my headphones at the shop. And so I was like, great, can't listen to music while I go running. I'm going to look like a lunatic running outside with no music on. Like, what's keeping you motivated? It's like the little memes where the guy's at the gym without music on and he's like going at it really hard. And they're like, he has a vendetta when he doesn't need music to motivate him.
Well, that's pretty funny. I didn't have my headphones either. So it was just me going. And I ran up a slight grade, like not even a hill, a bit of a grade. And I thought I might have looked like I was doing a fast walk. Like, I don't think I was going through. I'm not a runner, man. I'm not at all. Oh, so how's the bread making going, Calvin?
The thing about bread making.
Tell us.
No, I did it. I got the starter going. I made a couple loaves of bread and realized I only could get through one loaf of bread in like 2 weeks. Like I learned that I'm not a big bread eater.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe I'll just buy some instant yeast, forget about the bread starter, and just make bread when I need to,
There you
instead
go.
of having to keep feeding something. I don't know. It was a good loaf of bread. It turned out really well. I was happy with it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up my sister had made and given to me honey butter. So it's a mixture of butter and honey together, which is super sweet to go on the bread. So yeah. So that was a little dangerous, but no, it turned out really, really well. I don't know if I can make a living at it, but yeah.
What else is new? What's shaking? What's going on with you?
Not a whole bunch. Running, doing that, the pattern making. I'm putting together my website. So I want to do, during this whole time of not being open, I really want to get into accessories, and I'm working on a really interesting idea with pocket squares. And then I also want to do a collection of handmade ties, the traditional way. So usually ties, traditionally were folded over or in on themselves 7 times, and then sewn up the spines of the back of the tie. And they didn't have any kind of fusing or anything in between to give it weight. The fabric itself would give it its drape. And so I've been playing around with the idea of doing that. So I made a pattern for that the other day, and I bought some silk that I want to have screen printed. So I'll actually have my own patterns printed on the ties, because I find the patterns out there that you can buy in bulk are really boring or traditional. And so I'm working on doing my own collection of ties and selling them online to generate income with the pocket squares. And then dress socks are the 3 things I'm currently working on for my online platform. So
good for you.
Yeah, I've gone onto the website and I've kind of done the layout for it. I've put in all of the product descriptions and whatnot. So all I'm missing is the images of the product and then the go live button, essentially. So I've got to upgrade my website so it can sell e-commerce and go about doing that. So I'm learning all about doing my research into silk screening, because I don't know much about that. I'll have a professional do it, but I'd like to know kind of the process and terms that they use so I can talk to them properly to relay what I want. So they understand it. But a lot of research, I think.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
This is where people will really notice the distinction between your fashion sense and mine with these next few questions I'm going to ask you.
Ooh, okay.
So my dog had a drape around her neck that had Cardi B faces on it. Like, are you going to do cool things like that?
For what? For when she ate dinner, or like when would she be wearing this
When she's
little
going
bib?
out and she wanted to wear a kerchief, wanted to
Sure.
be
Oh,
styling.
it's a scarf.
It's
Okay.
a scarf, like
I
it snapped.
imagined a bib.
Yeah, well, it was like a bib, like it was like a kid's bib, like and it snapped around the back, like it would snap on, and it had Cardi B faces. Like,
Oh yeah.
are you looking at cool patterns like that? Like when you say non-traditional, that's what popped into my head.
Maybe not as whimsical as that, but
Mm.
something a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yes.
As a child of the 80s, the big thing was, getting your socks to match your t-shirt when you were playing tennis, that kind of thing. So when you're describing making pocket squares and ties and socks, I'm wondering, is it a thing if they all match, or is that like a bad thing? Is that a good
Oh, it depends on your style. I know the whole 80s thing is coming back, right?
thing? Yes.
Yeah, and it's strong. It's a
It's
strong
overwhelming.
style. It's very yes, it's in your face, if you will.
Right. So on that note, then, when you think about entrepreneurial spirit, if you want to invest in something, hairspray and spiral perms, like this is, if you had that and the shoulder pads that you could insert in any shirt or jacket, these were the big things. These were
That's right.
oh,
The perm. I thought about putting a wave in my hair, like
really?
a 1920s wave, like the crimpy wave kind of thing,
Really?
and slicking it down. I thought that would be kind of. I've never had wavy hair, and I think that kind of like in the bangs and I don't know, in the crown area would be kind of
Please
cool.
do it. Please do it. Like just even get an iron crimper and like do it, and then take some photos and send them to me, please.
Okay.
That would be
Okay.
so great.
Yeah.
That would be
No,
great.
I've got an idea for pocket squares. It's a little more risque, and I think it would be quite interesting. But I've hounded a local artist to draw out some images. Interesting. So I've come up with a line of socks. So they're knee-high socks,
Hmm.
and so there's ribbing that goes around the top of the sock, and I've decided I want to take a couple ribs and follow that down the back of the sock as a
Hmm.
spine. So in homage to women's silk stockings when they
Mm-hmm.
have the line at the back, so the men would have it too. It would be that ribbing,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it would be more in terms of allowing that sock to expand really around athletic calves,
Mm-hmm.
so it's more comfortable. So it's not as restrictive on the leg.
Interesting idea.
And I thought about doing it in a signature color
Mm-hmm.
for my brand, so that you can buy it with the signature color or without the signature color if you're
What is
wanting
your
to do more.
signature color? I thought you
I
were
just
black and
I
white.
just I decided it was going to be kind of like um, a fresh, springy kind of green. So a really bright pea soup type of green.
Hmm.
I think if you
Nice.
think about a pea pod or something, that type of green I think would be interesting, just
Good
as a
for
pop of
you.
color. Yeah, because no one else does it, and I've noticed that like I bought bags in the color,
Yeah.
and they stand out quite a lot in public. So I think if I had garment bags made up or something else that had that color on them
Yeah.
predominantly, it would be a good little brand recognition.
Look at you go.
Yeah, because everyone else does blue, and I get the color theory behind it.
Yeah.
And of course, Cartier does red, and Hermes does orange. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a toss up, but no one really does green or a
You're
light
missing
green.
out.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Well, this is exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
Very
No,
exciting.
it's a neat endeavor. And I think the tie thing, if I do it Canada wide for right now, I can save myself a little bit of money for not doing international shipping. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, exclusive ties. They'll be limited runs, so limited edition, because they're
Yeah.
all individually silk screened. You can print different numbers on them, so you
Yeah.
can make them more limited edition.
Look at
Kind of
you.
cool. Yeah, and then just working on the suit thing, keeping that going. So um,
You haven't made the dark cloaks for people
no,
skulking around
no,
the alleyways yet.
we haven't got there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. We'll wait till things get a little more dire.
I'm a cloak fan. The
Are you?
idea of a cloak with a hood, love it.
So I've done the capes. I don't know if you've seen the
Oh
capes. Have
yeah,
I
the
shown you
capes
the
are
capes?
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are.
I've done the capes and I really like those. I think those are interesting. Um, and I might get more into those. They were initially planned to go onto the website, but I don't have samples of all the fabrics.
Mm.
So I
They
thought
were a
I'd do,
huge hit, weren't they? They were double-sided cashmere, were they not?
double-sided, not, no, there was a cashmere fabric that you could get single-sided.
Right.
So you couldn't reverse it, but then there was the wool that you could reverse. So it was gray
Oh,
and then the color. And they did, yeah, they did really well.
they were gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, there was the cherry red and the dark gray combo actually was quite stunning. So yeah,
Mm,
and I can't get a hold of that fabric currently because everyone's closed down.
I know. Well, when my podcast takes off and I have, sponsorship deals, etc., I'll come back to you and order a cape. It'll be
Perfect.
lovely. It'll be lovely. Calvin,
Mm,
can you think of a time when you were broken open? And by that, not just broken, but broken open. You came out of whatever it was, changed for the better.
change for the better, huh?
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, that's a difficult one because I am very emotionally detached from life.
You were broken closed.
That's right. Yeah, just shut in, just bury the emotion deep inside of me.
You're not alone. Yeah.
Um, no, well, I mean, the only time that I've really, I wouldn't say I've changed for the better, but yeah, I'm very emotionally closed off most of the time to people. A lot of it's facade. Um, the only time I've actually ever lost it was in the restaurant. I was in the restaurant and I
Mm.
lost it. And it was whale tears. I mean, I was just weeping and weeping. And when I get really emotional, I get really pitchy in my voice
Mm.
and it gets really high. Um, so it was an interesting scene in a Vietnamese restaurant in the suburban Calgary in the deep Southwest.
Yeah.
Luckily, the restaurant was fairly empty,
Yes.
so
Yes.
nobody encountered this. But it was, yeah, it was a family issue that had come up, and there was a family member that wasn't seeing what was happening to them and wasn't acknowledging what was done and to support them. They weren't seeing things the way they were actually happening.
Mm.
And there was a lot of guilt that was being thrown around and a lot of anger. And it just lost it. Like I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not what's happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand there are steps that were taken. Um, we are working to help you out, but we are not going to um, give in to how do you call it? Codependent? Is it what's the term? Is it codependency?
Could be.
Could be. Um, we're not going to give in to feeding your emotions,
Oh,
basically.
okay.
Um, and we're not going to let that dictate how things are done. Like there's steps that you have to take to get over this.
Yeah.
We're helping you through it as best we can, but we're not going to walk you through it. Like you have to do it yourself. Like
Yeah.
you have to come to terms with it because a, personality wise, you don't listen to anyone anyway,
Yeah.
so you have to do it on your own pace, and two, that there is support behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You just may not be able to see it unfolding the way it is actually unfolding. So
Well,
this discussion happened, and there was a lot of, you don't do this and you don't do that and you've abandoned me and all the rest of it, and you're just like, oh God, give it a break. But at the time it was like you're so emotionally involved in it where I broke down, and I was like, oh my God.
yeah.
um, yeah, no, it was an interesting time, and that's, I think, probably one of the most emotional scenarios I've had in a very long time, um, beyond my parents' initial divorce when we were teenagers, um, where that was, stressful at certain times. But
Yeah.
ever since then, I haven't really had moments where I've seen a light where I'm like, okay, life is going to change, life is going to move on, things are going to be great. It's always just been this gradual push of okay, here's the next step in life, and here's the next step, and you take your achievements and you're happy for the achievements, but there's
Mhm.
never been a moment where it's just something's been broken open and you see this glaring light of, oh, this is, yes, this is my direction. It's always just been a
Mm,
gradual process of life happening for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see you as a problem solver, and so I would imagine like the process of being broken open for me was that I was quite stuck in a way of trying to manage my kids, for example, right? And it
Right.
wasn't working, and it wasn't, try again, wasn't working, try again, it wasn't working, try again, it wasn't working, try again, it wasn't working. Oh my God, I need to do something different. And that was the process of breaking open. And I think when you describe yourself and that it's just what's the next thing for me, one step at a time, you just you are very adaptable. That's why I
Right.
say to you, I bet you I could give you any business idea and you could figure out how to make it work.
Right.
Like you're just a
I
and
was
I
raised I was raised in a structured family where, we don't take big risks.
Okay.
If this is how it is, if you can put food on the table, great.
Yes.
My dad was an entrepreneur. He's retired now, but very entrepreneurial man. And he took many risks, but from that, the kids have learned maybe risks aren't so great after a while. I mean, risks are good to a point, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to provide for a family or save for retirement or do whatever, perhaps, less risk is better
Yeah.
in the long term, right?
Yeah.
So, everything I've done from college onward has all been very calculated.
Yeah.
I've never been to jump into something without asking a million and one questions
Hmm.
beforehand,
Hmm.
or really understanding a person I'm getting into business with. Like I've had a lot of business people have come to me and said, "We will lend you money," um, and you can tell from their personality or the way that they've handled life, you're like, oh, maybe you're not the best person for me to be in business with, or I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm looking for. I've learned over the years not to beat around the bush. Like if I'm into business, I will tell you, here's what I'm planning on getting out of it, and
Hmm.
here's how you can help me, and if you can benefit from this, great. Otherwise, no bueno. It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the way though? Like when you talk about you watched some things that your dad did, and you decided, or all of you decided early on, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake. Every kid I know does that, and sometimes overcorrects.
Right.
Doesn't sound like you have, but I mean, many of us, well, I've watched my parents. I've seen what worked and what didn't work. I'm not going to make those mistakes. Every cohort, every generational cohort, every kid does that. They start with what they don't want and
Right.
go from there.
Well, I think in terms of picking up things that our parents have done, I notice things about me that, like, I grew up with my dad. My mother left when we were teenagers, so I didn't really grow. Most of my teenage life up onward is my dad and my dad's influence. So I notice my mannerisms or the way I speak or the way I identify things is a lot towards the way he does.
Hmm.
And certainly, um, there are things that I don't like about what he does that I will correct in myself.
Hmm.
Um, so it's not like I'm going to do the opposite, but I'll understand where the issue would be,
Yeah.
and I try to correct that, not overcorrect it, but um, yeah, I pay more attention to the things that I do,
Yeah.
um, and the way that they're. If I don't like them, why don't I like them, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I try to pay more attention to myself and the way I come off. And I know some people think I'm more crazy than others, but that's all right.
I've never found you to be crazy ever in a bad way.
No, oh, good.
Only the best kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I find that a lot of people are very like we grew up very conservatively.
Hmm.
And I find that like I like to be more of a storyteller or add a little bit more of a flair
Yeah.
to the way things are told. Because I find that so many people in life are just mundane and they're so
Yeah.
boring
Yeah.
the way that they live life. I'm like, why can't you just tell it with a little bit more enthusiasm? Like,
Yeah.
throw in a twist. It doesn't have to be real. Just
Yeah.
throw in a twist as long as the main point isn't getting disrupted.
Yeah.
Make it
Please,
interesting.
God, please be interesting.
That's right.
I
Like
have this thing where I meet extroverts who are boring, and I'm like, what an awful combo.
oh,
Oh,
I have yet to meet one of those, but
oh, boring extrovert.
yeah,
Worst
yeah,
combination ever.
yeah. Or the
Oh,
ones that only talk about travel when you meet them, and they're like, "Oh my God, have you been here? You gotta go here." And they start listing restaurants that may never exist. Like you're just like, okay, how about we talk about something that's local?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you describe this restaurant scene in the Vietnamese restaurant, here's what occurs to me, and I think you and I've talked about this before. Um, you've got someone, it sounds like, who's emotionally deregulated, right? Someone who's struggling, someone who's unwell,
Yes.
who's seeing them
Mentally unwell,
right,
physically
mentally,
fine.
yeah, right, but maybe then perceiving themselves as a victim, right? And they
Right.
want, and then on the outside, it feels like they're being very emotionally manipulative,
Right.
right? Which sends us all crazy. It's like,
Right.
and I picture almost like the Yosemite Sam, like, jump, jump, shoot, 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 shoot. And most families do. They start dancing, right?
Yeah.
Well, this didn't work. Well, that, I can't be that, or I better do this, or this, if I don't do this, this will happen. And families go on like that for a long time,
Yeah.
dodging bullets, walking on eggshells, trying to handle, trying to manage, trying to keep the relationship going, trying to, um,
See,
yeah.
I stopped jumping bullets.
Well, that's
For
my
me,
question.
is I
How
put
did you know to stop jumping the bullets? Because you did. You seem to figure out way earlier, way sooner than a lot of people.
yeah.
Um, no, no. This is like I'm here to help, but you got to do it.
Well, I think it was that person's point in life. Like when you have a family member that goes through the same cycle over and over and over again,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and you
true.
can identify that cycle over and over and over again, and you're at an age where you can actually just stand there and go, okay, but you've done this over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
It's not changing. It always ends up in the same spot where you hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for me, it was like, great. So when they're shooting these bullets off, if you just stand there and go, great, you know, you can say the things you want to say. And when you want to act like an adult and come back to the adult table,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that. But until then, I'm going to keep my distance from you
Mm.
because you've got no one else to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all about just saying, you know what, you can work through if you don't want help, like never ask for help, but you're giving help. Um, for me, it's just when you want to come to the table, when you want to act like an adult and not talk about depressing stuff every time we hang out,
Yeah.
happy to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Because you get around all of these people. I remember going off to college and being super happy for 3 years and then coming back home and then just having this negative cloud around you and you can feel it. Like it's just one of those things where every moment that you're around certain people, you're like, oh, okay, they're not happy and they make the environment unhappy. I'm like,
Okay.
ah,
So was the scene in the restaurant after college?
yes, yeah,
Ah, so here's my other theory is that sometimes getting away and coming back can help you to see that pattern
yes, yeah,
clearer. And you start to notice, wait a minute, I felt different when I was living away from this than I do now. This doesn't feel healthy.
right,
Okay,
yeah,
that's helpful for me. When I see families that are struggling, often what I see, if people can get away for a period of time and come back, then yes, often it is clearer, or they can take a break from the relationship and come back, it's clearer,
yeah,
the dysfunctional pattern. But when they don't, they're so mucked up in it.
yeah.
So mucky.
You just get caught up in it and it goes around and around and
It's the
around.
normal. It's the only normal with that person. And
Yeah,
there is a sense of family there. We have so many shoulds, right?
right,
Well, I can't abandon them. Like you start to buy into the sick person's story, you
right.
know?
Well, I think even life in general, because it's, in your teenage years, I was always a fan of like the royal family and living prim and proper, and this idea
Mm,
of like pristine white picket fence, getting married, having a wife, two
mm,
kids, that kind of thing. And it was always for me like, oh, smile in an event and you be happy and whatever. And as I got into my later 20s, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like
mm,
if I don't like the room of people, I won't be in the room with the people. Like,
mm-hmm,
why am I bothering to show face when it does nothing for me? And the same thing with events on in my life where I'm just like, if you're miserable, that's great. You go be miserable. And then when you want to, come back and be a happier person, or at least put on face to be a little bit more tolerable, like
mm-hmm.
happy to hang out with you. But I've become very good, and this is the emotional disconnection in my life where if I'm around negative people, I just kind of say, you know what, thanks so much, but not interested in hearing about your woes every time we hang out.
Yeah. And you don't feel compelled to rescue them or save them or change anything. You're just like, you know what? And if they do come back, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, unless they ask for help,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where why change yourself if you're not, if you don't think there's anything wrong with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would never go to a friend and say, hey, you're fairly miserable, like peace out, see you later.
Yeah.
Or, if it's an off time, you'll be like, what's wrong? But I mean, for the most part, um, I've become I can disconnect very quickly with people,
Yeah.
where it's, if it's, I don't see eye to eye with them or whatever it is, that I just, quietly back out,
Yeah.
just, do my own thing, and keep the positive people around.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's, you say it's shut down, and maybe there is some component of that in there, but I think that what you're describing is that you're really well boundaried. You have a really good sense of, and you don't take on people's stuff. Like, you
Yeah.
let them have it. Like, that's yours, and I'll be over here. And if
Yeah.
you ask for help and you want to
Uh,
change, great. But if you don't, all right.
I have a family member that takes on everything just
Right.
emotionally and is just a nervous wreck at all times. And you're like, what? Zero control. You have no control of that situation, their environment, or what's going on.
Yeah.
That to take that on and try to control it is just, I don't know, deflecting from your own issues or whatever it
Oh,
is,
it's
right?
so true. That is the crux of codependence right there.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't, if it's, I have my own issues, I have my own anxieties, I don't need everyone else's on top of me. And it's just
Yeah.
to the point where, we can't, everyone lives their own life. And
Yeah.
if they can't control it, then perhaps it's, you step back from that and let them handle their own issues. And if they
Hmm.
can't, then that's on them, not on you. So
Yeah.
you're not
Good for you.
responsible for anyone else's life. Yeah.
God, you're so enlightened. Like, I got nothing for you, man. Like, I was
Yeah.
that's
I can
cool.
offer therapy sessions and make
Yeah.
suits.
Yeah. You really are a pattern guy. You see patterns in behavior, you see patterns for clothing. You see.
That's right.
Yeah.
Measuring inseams, I can tell that you haven't been with a woman for quite some
Oh
time.
my God. Oh my God.
Should we talk about this?
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Oh, I kind
That's
of want
so
to know, but
funny.
I don't want to ask. Good for you. So here we are. I don't know what week this is of pandemic. 4, maybe 5,
4 or 5,
something like that.
4 or 5, yeah, mid four maybe.
Hmm. Things have changed drastically.
Have they? Tell me
I
about it.
think, well, in 4 weeks.
I don't know as much of a difference, to be honest with
No?
you. Like, there's a lot of, like, I'll listen to an evening recap of what's
Yeah.
going on around the world, but we're at the same spot we were 2 weeks ago. They're still looking for a cure. Everyone's self-isolating, and one person in a grocery store at one time, kind of thing. Like, no group members, no one's going groups. Like, for me, it's, I haven't really noticed a change. People are still going out for the runs. I mean, no businesses are open, obviously, but other than the fact that I have very few people to deal with on a daily basis, I don't really notice a huge change week over week since pandemic started.
Hmm.
What have you noticed?
Hmm. Maybe it's just, maybe I've described myself as a slow learner before. That might be all it is. It's just it's slow to sink in for me. You
Right.
know, at first it was like, oh, okay. So, you know, like I've talked about this before, you know, my measurement of where we are in pandemic, especially at the beginning, was what's Starbucks doing? Like
Okay.
at first I couldn't sit down in Starbucks, which was startling, but I could do grab
But
and
where
go.
am I supposed to work on my computer?
What do you mean I can't sit down? And so it's grab and go only. Okay, okay, I can accept that. I can accept grab and go. And then I go to Starbucks and I do the grab and go for a week or so, and then
Okay.
suddenly that stopped. That's when
Oh
I knew
no.
serious. So then I'm not, then now I'm ordering my own espresso pods and, you know, getting coffee cream. I think for me it's just
God forbid
I
the
know
coffee cream.
honestly that is my emergency now, like as if I'm running out of coffee cream, what am I going to do? I think for me, I think it's maybe it isn't all internal. It's just my own acceptance of the level of or how stringent or diligent I'm being with the physical distancing.
Right.
That combined with when I do go outside, what am I seeing generally from other people and their
Right.
diligence with physical distancing? How it's now the minority of people who will get inside the 6 foot bubble.
Right.
Before, it was the majority of people getting inside the 6 foot bubble, people believing that as long as we're outside, we're okay. You know, and it took a while for people to go, oh, okay. So if someone's coming, I'll cross the road, or, you know, so now, like
That's
sorry,
that's such an odd feeling
it
when you're
is weird.
walking down the sidewalk and someone like dodges into the middle of the road to go around you, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like, please look before you cross the road. Like, if you get
Right,
hit by a car because you're passing me, that's
right.
an
But it's
issue.
gone from, there's been a whole etiquette shift is what I think I'm noticing the most. So um, it used to be like if I saw someone wearing a mask, I thought they were paranoid. If I saw someone crossing the road, I thought they were paranoid. Like I was like, oh, come on. Like, oh, you know,
See, I
but
think I'm
now I
at
see it as a consideration.
right. See, I'm the opposite right now
Okay.
with you. So when
Okay.
people are like, when they dodge into the middle of the road, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I don't have it. I don't know that for sure, but I've been symptomless for 4.5 weeks. I think I'm fine, and I haven't been around many people, but who's to know? But I think for me, it's the opposite, where I'm like, I go out to my shop every day to work solo, like I go through the back alleys and whatever, so I don't encounter any people. But for me, I'm just like, what are all these people doing out? Well,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. Why aren't they at home self-isolating? Like, what is, don't be stupid. Like, there are just as many cars on the road now as there were before the pandemic for me.
No, I don't find that.
I see that there are cars that zoom by this shop every day. And like, okay, it's a Sunday afternoon, and I mean, you can sit there and count the hundreds of cars that zoom by. Like, I'm just like, where are these people going? Like, what are they doing? Go home, be with your families.
Well, the other thing I notice is people are driving crazy. Like people are driving 120 down, you know, the Deerfoot, 140 down the Deerfoot. Like it's like because there's hardly any cars on the road, people are
Right,
just driving like maniacs, which is kind of funny
right.
and a little bit scary because I'm like, please don't hit me. Um, please don't hit me at that speed. Oh my God. But but when I see people crossing the road now, I think, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Like before I was like, come on. Now,
yeah,
you know, why are you being such a paranoid germaphobe? Now I feel like it's a consideration thing. So I don't have it either. And I don't see it again. I see that now as instead of you're worried about me having the germs, you're being considerate about the spread of your droplets. So thank you for that.
right.
That's the way
Yeah.
that's the shift. That's one of the shifts. I think I don't know about this traffic thing though, Calvin. Like I haven't been down to your shop and I haven't counted the cars, but I do think that whole bit about we talked about earlier, how every day of the week is almost the same now,
Yeah.
right? Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday, doesn't matter. People are going where they need to go. Could be to get the groceries. It could be um, going to work. Like it's all a blur.
Yeah.
So maybe just because it's a Sunday afternoon, people are out going to work or doing whatever they need to do.
Yeah. Running errands or doing whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know. I just noticed that there's just as many cars when I walk to and from work along,
Mm.
you know, the roads, the major ways that I'm on. But I mean, it just could be the times of day that I'm walking. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
was thinking about that this morning. I thought, I know there are people out there that are really hit hard with this, but I don't know them. And people who have family members who are sick or have been sick.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone personally that's been sick or knows someone who's been sick either, actually,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is lucky.
it'll be interesting because the restaurant business is a big business in Calgary. Like
It's true.
everyone loves their restaurants in Calgary, and we've got great chefs here.
Yes.
But I was listening to a news broadcast where they were kind of outlining it, and they were saying, people who don't qualify for the emergency relief fund have spent all of their savings building up a business to open up doors, and then they open up and then can't make it work, and then they've got to close it down and start all over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that feeling. Like it
Hmm.
sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Because getting funding to start off is not easy, right?
No.
And to do it all again, only with bankruptcy behind you or consolidation or whatever it is that hurts your credit, it's awful. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I hear you. And I also think, like, if someone I know is struggling, like, I'm like, well, I don't know, I have a tiny apartment, but people can stay here. Like, I'm like, we'll all be okay. Nobody's going to be homeless. We'll all be all right. Like, between, I don't know. I've never, I feel almost bad because I'm interviewing people on the podcast too, and people are like, there's such opportunity right now but again, I mean, I'm surrounded by people who have had to pivot a little bit but aren't in crisis.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
a lot of your network are creative thinkers anyway.
Yeah.
So um, what was I listening to? Um, there was something online where they were talking about all these positive people putting forth positive messages and not really taking into account people's emotions and the toll that this is having on them. So if they're not being motivated to do something, that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they're like, no, actually, I mean, the world's in quite a crisis and it's okay to be a little mopey.
Yeah.
Like it is
I'm seeing memes
okay.
like that, like this whole productivity kick for pandemic, like, and now with the hustle
Yeah.
mentality. And I'm like,
Yes.
but if we're all going to be accepting of where we are, um, can't you be accepting of that too? Like I'm the only people I'm intolerant of are the intolerant. It's like a little bit like that, like like it's okay to see opportunity in it, and it's okay to go to bed. Like
Right.
it's all okay. Do
100%.
what you need to do, man. You know,
Yeah.
or I'll say, gosh, I've gained 5 pounds, and other people are like, I don't feel guilty. I'm like, good,
I don't feel
good.
guilty.
I'm just making a note, man. Like, it's not like I'm not. There's no like we don't need to take a stand here. It's okay. Everybody's okay where they are. Everybody's
Yeah.
just right. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All those burnt out people finally getting rest and people are shoving down their throats. You should be working more.
I know. Yeah, you don't have to start a podcast. I'm just really enjoying it, and yeah, I'm eating more sugar and carbs, and it's okay.
Good.
And I'm working out, and that's okay too. It's like it's all okay, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I do feel very, very fortunate. I am, like I say, I'm not homeschooling any kids. Thank God.
Yeah.
They would be the dumbest children on the planet if I was in charge of their education. Like I say, I put Lion King on loop. Like
On the
that's what
loop.
that's what you're doing, kids. You're gonna watch the Lion King 6 times today, and then you're going to bed. Like,
That's
oh
it.
my God, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So very fortunate. I live alone. I only have to look after myself. I'm not in crisis. I'm very fortunate, very
You
lucky.
wouldn't put them to work? My sister got an envelope the other day from one of her coworkers with the company label on it. And on the back, it was sealed, but there was like a Superman sticker. So you can tell some parents like getting the kids to seal the envelopes and putting stickers on them, and then they're putting them in the mail.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. A Superman sticker on the back.
Yeah.
That's
like
pretty
a
good.
ladybug or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Fairy princess.
Calvin. What else is shaken? What else do you want to talk about here?
Ooh. I don't
Ooh.
know. Other than your book edits, what have you been up to?
I had to get over my own story that I'm not good at technology, or that I don't like to learn technology,
Yes.
right? So I had that story going on. I've had it for years. And so it was a bit of a climb out of that
Yeah.
to actually sit down and give it a try.
Like I
Um,
still say to people, I hate social media. Like I'm not very good at it.
doesn't that
I
get
know
in the way?
I know how to use it. I
Yeah.
get like, but it's a good excuse to just being like, I'm lazy. I don't
Yeah.
do this because I'm lazy. I'm not good at social media. I'm good at it. I get it. I know how to market. Like I
Yeah.
understand it. I
Yeah.
just couldn't care less to learn it or to actually tell people I know how to use it. Like it's just one of those things where you're like, no, I don't feel like explaining this. So I'm not very good at social media.
Isn't it funny though? And those things can keep you really stuck.
Yeah.
Kept me
Yeah.
stuck for years, right? I don't like learning technology, or I'm slow to learn technology, or I can't learn new technology. Turns out I can.
Yeah.
And I actually, and it does get easier and easier. And there is some real feeling of accomplishment when I make myself do it. So I need to change my stories a little bit. So, your story of I don't like social media, I mean, or I hate burpees. I've tried that too. I love burpees. Love burpees. Can't wait to do them. It works for a minute or so anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Mr. Calvin, it has been a pleasure. Do you have anything that you want to promote before we
Oh,
sign off?
no. I've
Ooh.
got I've got my Instagram. You can go onto Instagram.
Okay.
Uh yeah, bespoke by butts.
Okay.
You can do that. The website's still coming along, so I mean nothing's on there quite yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, follow along on Instagram. It's everything that happens behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
I'm just a suit maker that promotes fancy photos of suits. You actually get to see the work that goes behind the suits and what goes into a suit. So it's not as photoshopped or not as put together, but
No, but it is really interesting.
it shows you kind of what goes into a suit and what happens. It's not just a finished product, a pretty person in it. So yeah, yeah,
Nice.
follow along on Instagram, and then I mean it has all the links on there for the websites and whatnot. So down the road, you can see the pocket squares and the ties and the socks and all the
I
fancy
can't
stuff that
wait.
goes with it. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
can't wait. Are your pocket squares? I want to hear about this after, but are your pocket squares, are you going to need to pixel any pieces out? Like,
No,
okay.
no, I'm not. No.
Okay, so it's not what I was thinking.
No, it's not going to be abstract where it's all pixelated out and you got to stand back to look at it. No, much different.
Awesome.
Yeah,
All right, Calvin, have a
perfect.
great afternoon. We'll talk again.
Thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Friends, thank you very much for listening. I am again your host, Maureen Towns, and I'm the founder of Maureen Towns Consulting. And what I do is I support families who are really struggling to support people in their family or people that they love who have mental health and addictions issues. And I help take those families from chaos to calm. My work is based on my 25 plus years working in healthcare as a nurse, both in the public and the private system in both Ontario and Alberta, and also my education and facilitation in leadership, and also my success and my failures as a mom supporting children with mental health and addictions issues. And you can read all about those issues and how I came to know what I know and all the things that I wish I had known years ago when I began the journey with my kids in the book that I'm going to publish this year called Broken Open. Same name as the podcast. You can find me at MaureenTowns.com. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to chat with anybody. And if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe and share widely. Take care of yourself, my friends. Bye.